Each sport is unique. The techniques and the tactics are different. However, all sports have some common values, such as hard work or consistency. Because of these common values, athletes often look to other sports for inspiration. In our video today, we'll let you know who inspired the Swiss tennis maestro, Roger Federer. We'll also talk about how his retirement has left a gaping hole in the hearts of many. First things first, Roger Federer shares who his idols are. Besides being a world-class tennis player, the Swiss maestro is probably one of the world's most loved and respected athletes. The main reason behind people's love for him is how he has always conducted himself. The 8-time Wimbledon champion has always acted with respect, whether on the tennis court or off it. His behavior and grace has earned him a lot of respect from around the world of sports. He single-handedly inspired so many people around the world, but with what he's been able to achieve in his 24-year-long career, people have always been curious about what inspires the tennis legend himself. Federer recently made an appearance on The Daily Show with Trevor Noah. In the episode, Federer had a long chat with Trevor where they talked about a number of things. They talked about how he got into the sport, how he managed to stay at the top for so long, and what kept him going all these years. One of the questions that Trevor asked was who actually inspires the greatest sportsman himself. He was asked who inspired him when he was young. We were all curious about it, and now we finally had an answer. Federer mentioned 3 different athletes from 3 different sports. He mentioned that as a young boy, his idols were Formula One star Michael Schumacher, Chicago Bulls legend Michael Jordan, and the superstar golfer Tiger Woods. That is some list if you ask us, but just imagine how great you have to be to actually be an inspiration for Roger Federer. Next up, what did Roger admire about his 3 idols? Each one of these 3 has so many wonderful qualities that we aren't even a little surprised that someone like Roger Federer idolizes them. In these 3 people, we're probably looking at 3 GOATs. There's no debate about Michael Jordan being the greatest basketball player of all time. No one can come close to what the Chicago Bulls legend could do on a basketball court. A strong case can also be made for Michael Schumacher and Tiger Woods being the greatest ever in their respective sports. But the one thing in common between these 3 players is their ability to keep performing at the highest level consistently for so many years. These are generational sportsmen who have reached the pinnacle of their respective sports and have managed to stay there for a prolonged period of time. According to the Swiss tennis legend, the longevity of these 3 stars has always inspired him from a very young age. He expressed that growing up, he used to think that it was impossible for someone to reach the level that these 3 were at, as it's almost impossible to maintain such a high standard of performance for so long. Well, Roger, these are definitely not bad idols to have if you want to achieve greatness in your career. Moving on, what was the secret behind his success? The Swiss tennis legend shared that he used to wonder how these superstars managed to stay at the top for so long, and now people ask him the same question. He revealed that people often come and ask him how he managed to stay at the top for 20 years. He mentioned that when people ask him, he has no particular answer to give them, as he feels there's no one secret to being a successful athlete. He shared that he's just always loved playing the sport, which is what has kept him going for all these years. He said that the feeling you get when you win a game is enough to inspire you to keep going. He mentioned that playing tennis was the source of fun in his life, which is why he just kept playing. He understood the privilege that he had being an elite sportsman and didn't want to waste it. He also shared that he always felt a sense of duty towards the sport and thought of himself as a tennis representative. He had to carry the reputation of tennis on his back, which is why he always gives it his all. The 20-time Grand Slam winner shared that he feels like he squeezed every bit of tennis he had in him and gave everything he had on the tennis court. The fact that he still has to fly around the world to get help with his knee injuries proves that he gave the sport his all. Next, Federer also talked about life in retirement. We all remember how it happened. We saw a teary-eyed Roger Federer sitting with his longtime rival Rafael Nadal, who was also crying. It was a scene out of a Hollywood movie, where almost everyone sitting in the arena was in tears as they said their goodbyes to one of the greatest tennis players of all time. His last game at the Laver Cup in September was a scene like we've never witnessed in tennis before. Speaking to Trevor, Federer also talked about his exit from competitive tennis. Much to our surprise, Federer didn't look too emotional while talking about his retirement. He mentioned that his transition from the sport hasn't been problematic. Rather, it's been quite a smooth ride so far, where he's been able to enjoy himself. He mentioned that while playing this sport, he built a lot of connections with his fellow tennis players. He revealed that he always asked his peers to remain in touch with him once he retires. So these days, he's just connecting with people who are now reaching out to him. He expressed that he now spends most of his time focusing on his beautiful family and spending time with his kids. He also mentioned that he spends his time working on the businesses he started and his philanthropy. Up next, Roger's last few years in tennis must have been painful. The Swiss maestro had a wonderful career in which he won a lot of trophies and definitely a lot of hearts. But we feel the last 2 or 3 years of his tennis career were as painful as they can get for a sportsman. He really went through a lot with his injury problems, which was quite painful for us to watch as fans at times. He looked like a man desperately trying to cling to something that he'll never manage to hold. Because of the injury problems, he couldn't play as much tennis in his last few years as he would have liked to. He made several attempts to engineer a comeback onto the tennis court, but it didn't really work out for him. However, we're absolutely grateful that the king kept on trying because we still got to see some beautiful tennis from him, even when he was not 100% fit. We think that the pain he endured in his last few years is why he doesn't look too sad after retirement. It's quite possible that with the pressure of making a comeback lifted from his shoulders had dramatically improved his life. However, the maestro has stated on numerous occasions that he won't be turning away from the sport permanently and will try to keep involved in it one way or another. Continuing on, Nadal says he lost a part of his life with Federer's retirement. The love and admiration that Nadal and Federer have for each other is not exactly a secret. The Spaniard has now admitted that he lost a part of his life forever when his longtime rival retired from tennis in September. Well, we might actually have witnessed that part of Nadal's life leave his body in the form of tears when he paired up with Federer in a doubles match at the Laver Cup. The picture of the two crying side by side went viral all over the internet as people poured in their tributes. Speaking about this moment, Nadal said that it was an emotional moment for him as someone he's always admired was leaving the sport. He mentioned that he has shared a wonderful rivalry and so many beautiful memories with the Swiss legend, which is why he couldn't control his emotions at the time. He said that the feeling of playing an important game against Federer differed from anything else he has experienced in his life. It was a whole different vibe. Even the air felt different before he played against the 20-time Grand Slam winner. He expressed that the realization that he would not be able to live through that part of his life again is what made him lose control of himself. Lastly, we might never see something like the Federer ever again. The rivalry we witnessed between Nadal and Federer is something that we might never see again in the world of sports. The respect that the two shared for each other is something that we don't see very often between two rivals who have been involved in some of the fiercest battles in the history of tennis. The two played against each other on 40 occasions, with the Spaniard maintaining an upper hand at 24-16 head-to-head. Between the pair, they've won 42 Grand Slam titles, which shows their dominance of the sport for a long time. While Federer is already gone, it looks like the Spanish superstar might also be following him into retirement sooner rather than later. He has also been battling serious injury problems in the last few years, which have kept him out of the game for a long time. However, Nadal refused to speculate on when he would retire and said, "My time will come when it has to come." And that's where we'll end our video today. How much do you miss the Swiss maestro playing on the tennis court? How many more years does Nadal have left in him? Don't forget to let us know in the comments section. Please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for all the latest news in town. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.